Welcome to the Concept 101 podcast. My name is Jules and I'm joined today by Stefan. Today we have a special episode with one of our incredibly generous main sponsors from Concept 101, Antonio Staparts, the founder of Artwod and SQETCH Studio. Hey man.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for the Concept 101 event. It was fantastic.
How did you find it?
Really good. Like the community stuff was fantastic. Just seeing all the people. The fact that you made it free for everyone was really nice. And just having everyone pass by the booth, because it was our first event.
Yes,
Artwod at an event with the entire team, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was super impressed by your booth.
Thank you.
Like all the live sketching you did as well with Onion.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's nice to organize things, but it's also very impressive to see it happen and to see the companies that helped us a lot, including Artwod, also get the fruits out of it. Like, can you say that in English? Get the fruits, like get the benefits out of it. Let's say,
exactly.
like enjoy the day and have a good time. And
I think it's good that when you have a booth that you put effort into making it interesting for people, and then they want to interact, and and I think it's very nice also that you guys decide to sponsor, because you being an educational platform is something that we really want to work with more and more. I think at the end of the day, as much as I think we all are kind of catering a lot of these things towards either students or young professionals starting out as that's essentially what me and Jules represent, young professionals. I guess you are not so much of a young professional in that sense.
Oh, thanks for noticing that.
Because, you have...
Oh, man, I feel very young when I say
you look very young, but I know you have pretty much a decent amount of experience at this point. So if you could roughly tell us what was your initial maybe starting point, maybe even like how did you get into concept art and your first few companies, and what kind of led you to starting with Artwod and maybe SQETCH Studios as well.
Yeah. So I actually don't have that long of experience. I am older, like I'm 34, but I only started learning how to draw when I was 26.
Wow, okay.
So
So that's like 1 year older than me when you started.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So but I got into, like I told you guys, like I worked for Apple for 5 years, and I told myself like I don't want to end my life doing this, basically, working in retail and very corporate and all of that. But I didn't actually, like, concept art was definitely not on my radar. I wanted to get a tattoo because I was very heavy into CrossFit.
Oh, really nice.
Everyone had a tattoo, and I was kind of a follow along, I guess, because I wanted to get a tattoo. But I was like, okay, I'll get something on my body, but I don't want to give the artist, the tattoo artist, full control.
Yeah.
I want to sort of pitch him an idea, but in order to pitch it, I need to draw a little bit. And so I got into the learning how to draw thing, but I'm always very OCD, so I get really deep into it. And because of that, I stumbled onto conceptart.org back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
Like the mecca form of that day.
Yeah, everyone mentions it.
Yeah.
The conceptart.org
Yep,
days.
exactly. And that's where I discovered, like, holy shit, you can do this for a living. And that sort of clicked with me.
Yeah,
that was the moment. That was like a eureka moment. Like, wow, I want to do this for a living.
Like, it's possible. Like, what you think is just a fantasy is actually people are making that. And it also has a very cool factor, It's like, wow, so impressive.
Exactly.
And it's impressive because also you see that there's ways to get to there. And there's like a clear, not as much as a clear path, but there's a path.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about it later, can be explained now today. But in the past, I assume it was a bit more of a tricky way to get to the job.
Yeah.
And so how did you get that? How did you, from learning about it, what kind of route did you take to getting your first gig and getting in the industry?
So it's going to sound impressive now, but it actually wasn't at the time. But my very first professional gig was for Procreate.
Ooh, wow.
But the reason for that is like I said, it sounds like very cool now, but they were a very small company back then. Like the iPad Pro wasn't invented yet. It was just an iPad with a simple stylus, and you had Procreate, but I already loved Procreate, and I was very much a free ambassador for Procreate. And I was learning a lot in Procreate and posting a lot of my stuff on socials. And so they asked me to do something for Procreate.
Did you know? Do you know Nikolai Lokoston?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of
So
course.
I remember Industry Workshop way back. I had an iPad, but I didn't have a stylus, and he gave me like a stylus, and he was doing these insane paints. As well, it was the same time as what you're explaining, and I was mind blown by how this guy could do with such a shitty stylus, and I was like, holy wow, so impressive. And yeah, so you probably also were there with Procreate
Yeah.
at the events.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And when Nathan was there, and
Yeah.
the people from Procreate.
So did you get hired to do a painting with them?
I was commissioned to do concept arty stuff for their product launch, their new updates. But I wasn't a professional. Well, technically, that made me a professional. But I wasn't freelancing yet. I was just learning. It's only a year later that I sort of ventured into freelancing.
Yeah.
But I always, like I said, I'm also very OCD when it comes to learning things. And because I was doing competitive CrossFit at the time, for the people listening, don't think anything of it. I wasn't good, but I was doing it
Dude,
competitively.
we need to get into this because
Into CrossFit.
I just want to hear a little bit about it because I go to the gym a lot and I tried some CrossFit workouts before.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense, so maybe in a second. But
I think sports definitely is a healthy way to keep motivated, keeping good also mindset.
Yeah.
And it links to art in many ways as well. I don't do as much sport as you guys at all, but when I was doing, and even now I'm trying to start kickboxing, I definitely find it more like it helps my art as well in a very nice way.
Yeah, absolutely.
and then what was like your next essentially?
From Procreate, I was just back to learning.
Okay.
Like, I'm not ready for this. It was fun to do, but I definitely didn't feel ready. So I treated art learning like what I did in CrossFit. Was essentially learn the fundamentals and work on your weaknesses every day. That was sort of my mindset, and it's still my mindset. And that helped me get pretty good, pretty fast, especially for those days as a starting professional. And I did one online program, which was the Watts Atelier, which I will always be an ambassador for because I think it's amazing because it learns you traditional stuff like gouache painting and charcoal drawing. And I followed that program for, I think, 6 months, and then just some self-teaching through YouTube. And that's essentially how I came up with this sort of structure that I have for Artwod is that work on your weakness kind of mentality.
It's really cool because when I was still in university, I heard about the Watts Atelier, and I used to watch their YouTube videos every now and then and be very inspired. I remember there was a talk by Carla Ortiz, I think, where she kind of mentioned her days in I think it was the Watts Atelier where she went, and she was actually you can attend it in person as well. And it's quite a grueling art program where you have to do a lot of just traditional painting and like the typical studies and stuff like that, but teaches you a lot. And she's obviously an incredible artist. So as I find it quite interesting, I wanted to ask you, do you find it that like, is this something that you guys promote as well with Artwod to do like more traditional sketching and stuff like that? Do you find that it's useful for beginners to do that, or do you think it's better to just start in Photoshop because that's the tool that obviously everyone uses in the industry?
Well, I think that the best answer is start with the tools you have available. As long as you start, is more important than not doing it. But yes, for a long time, like our beginner course, where we teach people the true fundamentals of like spatial awareness and drawing from imagination, the first prerequisite was to do it completely traditionally. We sort of dropped that for the reason I just said. We rather just have people start than being sort of limited by the things they have available. But I'm a big advocate for traditional drawing, just because like sketchbooking, like I was looking through your sketchbook, Stefan, like I love sketchbooking. I think it's an extra level of design thinking that you put into sketching and sort of thinking before you put something on paper, which digital sort of eliminates. It's like, I'll just start messing around until I get something. Whereas with sketchbooking, you have to sort of preemptively think before you draw, which is really good.
It's digital is much more forgiving, so you can make so much more mistakes and just erase it or flip the canvas. I tend to flip the canvas all the time, but then when I look at my sketchbook, I'm like, oh shit, I cannot flip the canvas anymore. And it's also like going at uni as well. We never did traditional, almost never, and it's something that I really wish I had done more myself to get stronger fundamentals and stronger brush control or pen control. And it's good to hear that some courses have this available, and I can definitely see how the atelier helped you in your journey.
And most people I look up to from artists in the industry, whether they're now full 3D artists or photo bashers or just painters, most of them all have a traditional background of some sort.
It always boils down to the traditional or the element skills, like fundamentals, essentially. Like if someone learns 3D and becomes the king at 3D but has no fundamentals, he's not going to get good results. He might look very realistic or he might have great lighting, but even this relies so much on fundamentals.
Yes.
And that's why in a past podcast we did, and I'm sure the same in your courses, we really try and say people that fundamentals are key to progressing and to learning fast or efficiently or both. And so how do you proceed to teach fundamentals at Artwod? What's your process?
I really broke it down a lot when I wanted to start the program. I really wanted to see, okay, what does a student that knows nothing basically,
instead like absolute beginner,
like absolute
never
beginner,
drew
like,
anything,
or even people that have stagnated for a long time. How do I sort of break apart their skills and understanding and restructure it so that they properly understand how to go about drawing and understanding design thinking? And like I said this on the Proco video as well. I basically have like this 6 steps that sort of is an overarching thing to design. It's like you start with structure, basically understanding form. And when people say understanding form, they think like, oh, I draw cubes, I draw cylinders, then I'm done. Now I'm going to move into anatomy. And that step, that leap is such a misconception. It's like understand form, then know how to manipulate that form, like really mold it. Because if you cannot, and I learned this I did one design workshop with Koos Essen. I don't know if you know them, but they're the author of Sketching the Basic books. It's a product design book, and they give workshops.
Oh, I think I know which book you're talking about.
Yeah.
Back when I was a student, I was like, I need all these basic fundamental books.
And he taught at Gorilla.
Oh, really?
Yes,
oh,
he gave a lot of workshops at Gorilla. And they taught me like this one sentence that always stuck with me. If you cannot design a cylinder, what do you bother designing a character or a vehicle? And that hits so hard because that's true. If you cannot design a simple thing, object, and this is what students do, they do the simple things and then they try to design something very complex. And that's where that discrepancy for me came in. And so we break down those fundamentals, spatial awareness, breaking down reference, understanding reference, redesigning things from imagination in simple form, and then making it more complex as you go along by adding value on top of it, color, whatever, composition, design thinking, but really that structured approach. We try to do it in a step-by-step.
It's definitely very useful for a beginner to have a structure like this, I believe, because I think a lot of us, when we started, we are either lost or we have no idea where to go. And that, for example, even that example, like I said, I bought all these books. Like that was me. I was starting. I was like, okay, what are where I found? I think it was on the Level Up, the good old Level Up days. They had a website with all the resources. They're like, oh, this and this and this. So I checked the resources. I found the books that I could actually get. I think most of them were shipped to me from US. So I waited for a little bit until they got to Slovakia, and it was like the Scott Robertson How to Draw, the How to Render. It was the Design Basics. There was the one with about car packaging. That was also from
I have that as well.
Yeah, really really good books. And then Anatomy. I don't remember the name of the I had the one that was not very popular. The one that was very stylized kind of anatomy.
Did you go through all of those?
Yeah, like it starts with B.
I wouldn't know, man.
Anyway, it was he was like more into kind of drawing these. They almost were like comic book character type anatomy, but it was still very good. And so I was lost essentially. And what I was gonna say is that what you guys provide with Artwod is a way of how to navigate this like world of art. Like how do I get good essentially?
Because did you get to the point to reading all these books, or was it just like a pile that was getting bigger?
I read more. So I read the How to Draw. I did all the exercises. I still have this. I don't know where I have them, but stacks of piles of exercises, which I think everyone should do if they have the time.
Agree.
And then I did the How to Draw, but not all of it. Only like the rendering basics. And the rest of them didn't really touch. At that point, I started to learn from schoolism and stuff like that.
Because that requires so much time and effort to go through books and read them. I remember people telling me to do that, and I was like, I'll just draw on my side and I'll learn this way, which is obviously not a good way to do.
But it's crazy because you still ended up being a very successful and like very good artist. I think I always find it weird that like you can have different approaches in as long as you have the passion for it.
I think it's like shortcuts and maybe long. Like for a very long time, I was just kind of throwing stuff on the wall and seeing what sticks, and not many things were sticking.
Yeah.
And it took me quite a long. I think I probably learned through failure, so I would just try my own stuff and probably adapt quite quickly. So if I see something works, I'll continue doing it. If I see something doesn't work, then I stop doing it. But I would not advise anyone to do this. I think if you can have a clear path or summarized books or any sort of teaching that can get you in some direction, I think that's the best thing to do, because I was lost like you were, but in a different way, which was more me being like, no, I can do this.
Yeah.
But I think I could do it because I didn't know how much I didn't know in a way. So there's no way you need to fail somewhere to learn, or someone need to guide you.
So with Artwod, right, you don't just have courses in the sense that it's just a pre-recorded course and that's all you're getting. You essentially have a guidance from teachers, right, as well. How does that look like when you sign up for it? How do you give feedback essentially?
Well, in overall, the entire package, if you look at Artwod, is we do learning paths that consist of courses, but in a literally in a learning path sort of way. Like do this course first, then do this course, and every lesson has an assignment that you need to fulfill, of course, and you can request feedback on those assignments to sort of get a guide from an actual professional. Like we say, we hire teaching professionals, not professional teachers.
Yeah.
So you get like good guidance on what you need to do, on what you need to improve, even the basic stuff. And we complement that with workouts. And the workouts are specifically built to what we were talking about, increasing your design thinking, your problem solving. Because we're pretty much focused towards aspiring concept artists. We also have a lot of hobbyists that just want to improve their drawing from imagination, or they want to work on their passion projects, but still the same fundamentals apply. And with those workouts, we really made like a very effective format of where we teach people a certain subject. Could be like one of the workouts we did was designing werewolves, right? And the thing is, there's so many werewolf designs already, and this is what you as a concept artist will be almost tasked with, is like, okay, we need a new werewolf, right?
Come up with a design.
So many werewolves, and or it's like when I worked on Century Age of Ashes dragons, there's so many dragons, right? How do you make new dragons? And that's essentially what we teach you in those workouts, is how to think about it, how to go about it, how to learn the right from the right resources, learn to manipulate reference, not be manipulated by reference, and then apply design thinking to that. So that's how we complement our program essentially.
It's very interesting that you say that you hire people that know how to teach rather than people who are, I mean, I guess you found the good balance, were very professional but also great at teaching.
Yeah.
And how did you, because I think finding good teachers is a thing, but how do you fulfill the industry professional thing that's missing? So what did you learn by being professional, or what did your teachers learn by being professional that allows them to really guide the students in a more, maybe better way?
That's a great question. I think the the extra benefit you have being a working professional is you understand efficiency. I think that's one of the best things. And it's not like you're not going to require from a hobbyist that they can churn out 10 character designs in a week.
Yeah.
They don't have to, but the efficiency that you've learned from being a concept artist can help anyone basically be more efficient, and especially people that are aspiring to be in this industry, which in this day and age, like, you have to be efficient, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise you're not gonna be working. And so we as myself and the teachers that work at Artwod, or like the working professionals, they can really quickly spot where people are lacking in that efficiency and what exact fundamentals they need to work on with that design thinking on top of it, I think. Because there are good traditional schools, there are many shitty ones, but there are good schools and good teachers, but even those teachers focus on highlighting maybe what's lacking in terms of just fundamentals, which can be good, just like your form is missing or your anatomy is missing. But as a working professional, the extra thing you're going to see is, okay, your storytelling is missing, your design thinking is missing, this shape language is missing.
Yeah.
This is what you can bring to the table. And it adds like that extra layer that you need for the entertainment industry.
It's like, it's good to have amazing skills, but how do you integrate this in the pipeline? And why is someone going to hire you for it? And I think if you can have in your portfolio the answers to the recruiter's questions, almost, then that's it, you're hired.
That.
Because, as you said, there's thousands of dragons. And, sometimes clients are going to go to you and say, make me a dragon. I know what I'll know what I want when I'll see it.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, what do I do now? And it's so good to have the experience, which is knowledge of knowing how to iterate and knowing how to use references and design language to come up with new ideas. It's very interesting.
I'm just wondering about, so obviously you must have contact with a lot of students at this point. If you know anyone who went through your program and managed to improve quite fast, if you see this improvement, because I know, it's funny because I know at least two people in my mind, mainly TCK, Thomas Chamberlain Keane, and my colleague Marcus that I work with. Marcus, Michael, whatever, is this ArtStation. But they are both great examples of people who went from nothing to very good in 2 years or something. It's very impressive to see that. They are both kind of just winged it of learning themselves. But I was wondering if you find people in your course that you go, wow, these guys are really making, when they're putting the effort there, you can see the progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the longer I have Artwod, I was talking about this with Axel the other day, we can almost pinpoint who's going to make it and who isn't in 2 months of someone being in the program. And the main thing, of course, is consistency, but it's also really taking in the feedback and then applying it is almost a sure shot way to success that we see with most students. And I mean, I have one of the best stories that I keep telling now that was at Concept 101. Antonio Rizzati came to me.
Oh, yeah.
And he's from Brazil. And he said, because of Artwod, I got into the industry. And then he got into Koku, and now he's working at Sumo.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best full circle things that I've heard.
And he also got second place, I think. Or
third place.
Third place
Yes.
at the competition.
Yes.
Amazing art, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. I saw you met him and I was like, oh, okay.
I didn't know. So he did your program?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How long ago did he do it?
I think it was 1.5 or 2 years ago, or maybe even longer. It was back when it was a bare bone program, so it's amazing even then. And now we have Stan Baertz, who was very early in. He's now a concept artist at Adam Hawk.
Nice.
Ina Chun did our program. She's a concept artist at Rare now. We have one of our star students now, Lorraine Rochefort, which I'll plug here as well. She created a portfolio through our program as well, and she went to the portfolio reviews at Concept 101, and she's very likely of getting into the industry soon as well, so it's really amazing.
I mean, it's good to hear that, both worlds kind of get together.
Yes.
And I think that's also one of the things we really enjoy making the event, is that is very fulfilling to see people have a good day and hear that people, oh, I got a job, at the event, or oh, I met these people which get me a job later on. And I'm sure that's something also that drives you a lot, to see students succeeding and learning a lot. And
Yes.
yeah, man, it's so good to see. I really appreciate it. And something else also that I want to bounce back is that you can tell who's gonna make it in like 2 months about this. Which signs really tell you, like, which quality would you like into students, or which, if you can give advices to students now, what do they need to really focus on? You already mentioned the feedback, but any other specific ideas that would help them in their journey?
I think the main thing, and that's one of the reasons, Stefan, like you mentioned, although maybe Jules didn't have the proper path or something, he still made it. It's because of that one quality, and that quality is the unrelentless motivation of self-improvement and doing things you don't necessarily like to do, but know are good for you for your skill building, that's why Artwod is such a hard sell, actually, because we sort of sell the grind mentality, as in we give you, we take over the thinking. You don't have to think of what to do. We'll tell you what to do, but you do have to do it. And one of our things is, our workouts are basically set up in cycles. They cycle every 6 weeks. And you'll do 2 weeks of figure, 2 weeks of hard surface, and 2 weeks of organic work. And the organic work can be creatures, can also be environments, can be anything. And the thing is, most people that we see that won't necessarily make it are like aspiring artists, and they just want to do character design. And they think, oh, I'll only do the figure workouts. And that's a wrong mindset, because if you want to be really efficient, you have to train as a generalist, and you can work as a specialist, but you have to train as a generalist, because like that's why you did the How to Draw books from Scott Robertson. I did a ton of product design. I don't do product design, but it helped my character design so much because my spatial awareness, my design thinking is so much better. So I advise anyone to do hard surface design, because it's one of the best ways to learn design, learn how to think, organic things as well, and all of that feeds into whatever you want to do.
Yep. So this is maybe like quick, interesting topic to talk about, which is related to motivation, inspiration. And we already covered it in a podcast before. And like, I, for example, find it that like I used to be a student that really like I think I was the other way. So I was like only motivation, no inspiration, and I just worked through everything until I worked myself to the ground, where I was questioning, why did I even start art? Like, what was the purpose of like doing all of this stuff, and like just working nonstop, like not partying, not doing anything, not having that many friends. And I kind of had to like go back and reinvent all of this stuff for myself and like rediscover it. So my question would be, how would you suggest to maybe new up and coming artists to balance this out? Because I definitely feel like there is a balance where you do need to do certain exercises to improve, but you still want to do it in a way where it's enjoyable for you in some way, because motivation is like limited for sure. It runs out at some point.
Yeah. Well, discipline trumps motivation, right? That's motivation is, I think having a good community is one of the best contributors to motivation.
Yeah,
I would say.
So true. Yeah, that's right answer.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to say before your previous question, Jules, is like, that's why I love something like what you guys are doing with Concept 101, because we know the industry workshop days, and it's something like that's what got you motivated.
Totally.
And it's something that, especially nowadays, it's so important that we do things like this, because online you can get really demotivated really fast, either by looking at amazing art from different people or looking at the bad news about the industry or whatever it is. You can get demotivated, and when you come to these events, you get remotivated basically. And that's like having a good community, which is what we tried to build at Artwod, which we really have succeeded. I think the major problem we'll have with Artwod is when we really start to grow is keeping the community.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Probably, possibly impossible. And
We'll fix it, but it will be very hard to do. Yeah, but I think through physical events is like a really good way of sort of maintaining or nurturing it every year.
Totally, man. We just came back from non-stop Barcelona, and
Yeah,
I felt like
shout out to Juan.
Yeah, thank you, Juan, who invited us. It was amazing.
Thank you, Juan. I wasn't there, but thank you.
You'll come next year. And it was like I felt like, because I've been working in events since forever, and it was the first event I attended as a full nobody, let's say, or like just I don't have to worry about anything. And I feel like just this event helped my career or helped the people I know like much more than the last 2 years. Like insane. Like just being able to meet people every day, to become friends with them, to get point of view on my portfolio from other artists, and that kind of stuff, just so helpful. And I think the last time I had something similar probably was the first industry workshop. And also when I met Stefan and Daniel, when I moved in London, and I kind of got into this group of friends in London. And just, having someone you can reach out to, having someone who can criticize your work, who has a good opinion, or has some background in art. Not your parents, for example. That's like so useful for an artist, just to keep motivation, keep going.
Yeah, but I wanted to like continue on that point because there's like a negative connotation on. We all know the saying, "It's not what you know, it's who you know," and people put that in a negative light. But I've started to learn through my networking years. I totally understand why, because connecting with people is the best way of getting into the industry, but it's also a good way because like it's building the community, and it's what helps you. It's what I like when I did mentorships, like personal one-on-one mentorships. A lot of artists had this, like when they were down, they were like, yeah, but even though I get really good skills, I still need to know people. And I'm like, okay, but then go to people, right? Go to events, talk to people. That's how it's not hard to get to know people. It's just like you're creating that barrier for yourself. And I even told them like, okay, let's say you have a burning question about something art related. Who are you going to come to? And they're like, yeah, probably you. I said, yes, because you know me, right? Yeah. You're answering the question yourself already. You know me, so you'll come to me. You're not going to go to Craig Mullins, who's far better than me for advice, by the way.
Yeah.
But you're coming to me because you know me.
Yeah, because it's the easy way.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and art directors think the same way. Producers think the same way. It's like people connect to people. And I think artists, it's sort of a paradox because artists are very introvert, but they should get over that fact a little bit.
Totally. And, it is hard to get in the industry. That's true. But as people get better and they'll get in the industry, you notice that getting hired to a new job, even your first or your second or your third, it's probably 50-50 who you know and your skills. Because the skills, once you're good enough, you're good enough. There's not much more questioning. Like you can become better and better and better and unlock better productions or better projects. Yes. But if you know the people and if also you behave like a nice person, you don't get blacklisted, let's say. It's a very tiny industry, so people know who's good and who's not, who's easy to work with, let's say. It's so important to just, be friendly, chat to people. I'm also, I don't, I like speaking to my friends and that's pretty much it. But since I've been kind of pushing myself, asking people reviews or asking their point of views, it just helped me so much. And you might get no answers, but that's fine, But but if you don't ask the questions, you'll never get the answer anyway. So it's very important to keep going, find your answers, and you will end up with results.
So I want to kind of add to that, like being part of a great community. I think I always repeat this like every time that I feel like I'm part of a great group of friends that help each other out, and I would encourage everyone to try to do that. And we like with the back about the motivation part and that having a good community helps you out. And I think if I was listening to this, maybe you'll be like, yeah, whatever. But like, it's really important. And at least I would say a community is like at least 10 plus people. If you can have like a community, and those are ideally your friends that are posting their work weekly at least, so you can see their progress, and that motivates you. oftentimes asking for feedback on project will be quite motivating as well. If you have the right mentor or something, sometimes when you feel down, like that happens to me when I do some work at work, I'm like, oh shit, this is not going anywhere. And then, the right art director will not only give you the correct feedback, but also push you to do better work and inspire you to keep working on it. So I think that is the answer, is to have people ask for feedback, be active. But yeah, find the right people that really want to improve, because otherwise you'll be frustrated. I think if you are someone that really wants to improve and you have a community of people that kind of just like want to do this as a hobby, then it's not the right community. You kind of want to find and on the other hand as well, if you're a hobbyist and you throw yourself into a community of absolute just fucking hardcore artists, you'll probably it's not the best place for you, man. Because they will just like throw how do you say, they'll find your artwork and just like tear it to shreds.
Destroy it,
So that is not what you want. But I think finding the right community and sticking with it.
Yeah, it's good to find people that have like similar mindsets. And also, if you go in there, just don't go in there because you have to, but truly ask yourself, am I open to feedback? Am I open to criticism? And if someone gives you feedback, listen to it and really apply. That's why you said before, Antonio, like someone who's going to learn fast is someone who's going to apply the feedback, someone who's going to listen to the advices. Because if you sometimes giving feedback to people and they just like maybe, and they go away, and then 2 months after, same project, nothing changed. It's not really something that works with learning. And anyway, all that brings back to the thing that we have to always learn to learn new skills, get better. And I was wondering what you do yourself, Antonio, in your free time to learn new skills, also just do personal work. What kind of drives you to create more and to learn?
Well, now one of the main things being getting to be known a little bit as the teacher in the art community is avoiding imposter syndrome. So that what drives me to keep working on my skills, basically. And lately I've just fallen in love again with sketchbooking, and I think it's the best way to just sharpen those fundamental skills, because it's all the things you need to know. It's like you cannot cheat a sketchbook, basically. It's like you have to apply those fundamentals. You have to plan it. You have to think about it. And then you have to think before you put something on paper. And that's just what really attracts me to sketchbooking. And some of my favorite artists, like Jesper Esching, for instance, fantastic illustrators. He's not necessarily a concept artist, but still, like, what they do traditionally is so fantastic. And that's what drives me to keep sharpening my skills as much as I can, because of course running companies also requires other skills that need to be sharpened and need like maintenance. But it's I'll definitely always every week do something or try something to improve my skills.
So it's about being constant.
Yes.
And also maybe having like projects that carry on over time.
Yes.
That can just keep going with it.
Yeah. I'll just join a workout from Artwod, because like I don't have to think, but I can just have to do.
You teach yourself. You're like, hey Antonio, Antonio, how are you doing?
So you mentioned, for example, that you also are. So you founded Artwod. You also have a studio, SQETCH studio, which is like an outsourced studio, and really. It's quite interesting because you're quite an entrepreneurial figure, and I'm just like wondering, how did you kind of get there? Did it just like snowball? Like was it like you started the sketch, you were doing concept art, and then one day you're like, oh, I want to teach people or like give back to the community. I'll start Artwod, and then it kind of like grew beyond what you thought. Is that kind of what happened? Then you decided, okay, well, I'm enjoying this management part as well, so let me like put my effort into it. Yeah,
I enjoy it much more than I anticipated, I think. I started as a freelancer, just working for myself, and then, like you said, Stefan, it was starting Artwod was just a side gig. I made like a very small Squarespace website and just threw some workouts on there that were much harder, by the way, for all of my Artwod people listening than they are now. So, consider yourself lucky. Because Axel, one of my teachers that also worked at Sketch Studio and is a professional artist now, he started at the exact beginning of Artwod, and he did all of those hardcore workouts. I sort of started that, yeah, exactly, as a side gig, just to help people, like, like, these are the fundamentals you should learn. And it sort of snowballed as soon as I especially did the Proco video and everything, and then we got a lot of traction. And it grew into a separate company because one of my best friends sort of became like an angel investor. He's like, you really have something here. You should put more time and effort into it. So he like initially invested a little bit to help me grow the company. And that's what we did. We updated the website. We now constantly everything. I basically haven't made any money with Artwod yet, which is all of it goes back into development of the program. But I have Sketch Studio to keep me supported. But to answer your question about do you like it, I think I've always been the type of growth or die. If I'm not growing, I'm dying a little bit inside. I always need to challenge myself. And I think that was just the next step for me in terms of challenging myself. And I'm not saying like, oh, I've mastered concept art, I'll move on. I'll still do concept art from time to time, more in a direction role. But it's just like, for me, a company, like I said to you guys in the train, is the same as art. It's like, okay, learn the fundamentals of business. What do you need to do? You can reach a bigger audience, which is nice. Yeah. And you also have to learn all of these things, and you have to improve, and it needs consistency to build. And especially with Artwod, if I were to just do it for myself, I could, like in a Patreon type of setting, but I would only reach so many people. And now I sort of have this vision for Artwod that is much bigger, which needs a little bit of an entrepreneurial side, basically.
Yeah, these things take so much time and energy to create. I mean, I can kind of see similarities with Concept 101 and how much time it takes us to make just one day events, and compared to, so I can imagine how much you do to run a whole company, two companies like Chili's, and have employees and that kind of stuff. And it's very inspiring to see that the motivation from drawing and creating translates quite easily to creating companies. Absolutely. and creating just like driving people, I guess, in a way, which is super impressive.
It's problem solving, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think like I can honestly say that through doing concept art, I've been better at problem solving in other aspects of my life, because it's sort of this wiring, just like playing chess. Yeah, sort of wires you to be a better problem solver or think preemptively. Yeah. That the concept art or drawing from imagination also helps with that, and I think those are like soft skills that you cannot teach. Yeah.
It's like there's always a solution. Even if something breaks down or fucks up very hard, you're like, okay, well, that's a company. There's employees now, so, or like we have sponsors or whatever. It cannot just fuck up and that's it. You know, like it's not like a personal project that you just stop. It's like something that needs to keep going. Yep. So how do I do now? How do I keep the boat afloat? How can we react to the situation to make people happy? And it's challenging, probably very hard sometimes, but also very motivating.
It's definitely, I find it, because we have had some like tough times before with the event organizing and stuff like that, and it threw us into situations where we really had to learn how to stay calm and collected in situations where I don't think I would have been able to handle before. And it's funny because every now and then my art director would be like, yeah, well, this is how it's going to work, are you okay with everything? And I'm like, just like chilling on the couch, just like, yeah, man, it's okay. I've seen that. I see the shit that I've dealt with before. Yeah, it's like, don't worry about me. It's nice though. I appreciate, Sam, that you're always asking me if everything is okay and if I'm happy with the work. But I just find that it is useful to go out there and try to make something by yourself. And I also would want to take a moment here and like say that, me with Daniel and Jules are doing this event as almost like giving back to the community. And that's what Artwod started as well. And I hope that whoever listens to this one day will pick this up, and then they will start their own thing, and they'll also try to give back to the community in one way or another, and this just continues on. And every now and then when I hear people being like, yeah, I'm trying to give back to the community, I'm like, yeah, I get you, man, like we're all in the same boat, because if it's not us doing it, maybe no one else will do it, but let's hope that someone else will. So yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, it's beautiful to see that. I think it's one of the most rewarding things. Like when Antonio came to me at the event,
Yeah.
like no money in the world can, like, if you change people's lives,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And you through
For
the
the
events
better,
you do that.
obviously.
Yeah, for the better. Yeah.
Just
The guy
beat
Antonio's
them to death. That's great. That's such
like-
a good impact.
oh, I hate them concept artists.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very dangerous event. Careful.
It's you might learn a bit about art, and you don't know how.
It's like a frat house.
Yeah. it's like well, you have to be careful because your parents will be like, oh, he's gonna be an artist. Oh,
Each new course is unlocked by doing some sort of alcohol challenge.
Yeah. It's funny because sorry, I was just like a tangent. Six More Vodka has, it's called Six More Vodka. I was always wondering if they have like an initiation challenge. Like you need to go and just drinks like shots of vodka.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always wondered. Just the
They get you drunk and then you need to drink 6 more vodkas.
Yeah.
That's the rite of passage.
yeah.
Especially 6.
Yeah.
That's nice. But yeah, man, it's quite interesting to see how starting something as a almost side quest, as you were mentioning before, can expand and becoming bigger. And also another thing that really interests me is the sketch studio. And so you've got a few artists working with you all the time on different projects. And I think how do you link sketch studio with Artwod? Because I assume that you also hire people as a sketch studio art director or a production boss.
Production boss. That's my new title now.
I'm the production boss. You're the boss, you know.
Yeah.
And what experience hiring gave you into teaching? And like what do you? How does that help you making Artwod a better teaching platform?
Yeah. I think. Well, I wanted to start a studio just because I wanted to be able to see more of a pipeline in the game development, which as a studio you sort of get access to, because if you're a freelancer, you usually just get your briefs, especially as an outsourced freelancer. You just get your briefs and that's it. As a studio, you see more of the pipeline. You get to work maybe sometimes with game design, narrative, whoever it is in the departments, which is a lot more fun, and it gave me a lot more experience to share with students as well. And well, funnily, we have 2 people that got through the Artwod program. One is Axel that started working for Sketch Studio, and then Gabriel, who sometimes freelances for the studio. So it's great to see that the sort of soft skills we try to give people in terms of design thinking and consistency translate into their professional work, which is really nice. I think it's completely 2 different worlds, running a studio versus running a school. And I wanted to keep Sketch Studio as long as I could, just to have some professional street cred, as a teacher.
Man, you gotta have the professional.
Gotta need that street cred, so that people are not like, who's this cat trying to, teach me something about the industry. We're not like I said, we're not a big studio, and we don't try to be, but I do try to gain as much experience as I can working on different projects, and it's been super fun so far. I don't reckon I'll do it forever because Artwod is growing, but I'll do it as long as I can.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a good thing to maintain a professional foot, let's say, especially when with how fast the industry is evolving. However, sometimes teaching fundamentals are kind of very fundamental skills that will always remain the same. So no matter what happens, you can always, learn.
It's like Jama Urabaf says, tools come and go, fundamentals stay.
Yeah, totally.
It's so true.
He always talk about the brain. I always find it funny. No, you know, have you ever seen? It's like, and it starts with the brain, and that's where the idea starts. And, that's the important part, because if you can't think about design and start with there, then you're just putting random shit on paper, and it's all just gonna be random shit on paper. I don't know. I just remember it because I see him repeat that over and over.
Yeah. I guess it works. Also, like so many, I'm one of the guys who had the Jama Drabev portfolio. You know, like at some point everyone had the Jama Drabev portfolio. Yeah, and it's so funny to see how some people impact the industry in such a heavy way. Also, it's quite inspirational.
Yeah, and he's a perfect example of giving back to the community. Right? The amount of talks he does. He doesn't have to, but he just loves doing them.
So. Yeah, he also was at the event.
Yeah,
he very nicely agreed to participate, which is great. And yeah, it's awesome to see.
I mean, I don't know what I want to say, but anyway, Jama is great. We love you. No, I mean, it was interesting because he kind of spearheaded, like him. I think back in the day, right? There was schoolism that started all of this teaching and stuff. And then Maciej, Jama, Ash, Thor, not sure if he was involved in Learn Squared of creation of that, but I definitely know. Yeah, I think Ash was involved as well because he did those initial like first courses.
Wasn't Anthony Jones in Learn Squared as well?
I think he was involved as well, and it was interesting because these guys they changed it a little bit, and my point is that they were quite a bit just like public figures that just ended up doing like teaching, and very influential because everyone ended up just like following the way they did things. The way Jama did shit, everyone was following it. Like literally, everyone was buying his courses. Like, okay, Blender, Jama promotes Blender, everyone does Blender. Like he probably was the guy that like introduced it to the industry, and it's interesting to see. Sometimes you have people who are so influential.
It was also in the perfect timeline where concept art kind of really boomed and really expanded. And I think now things are settling in a way that there's more universities, good or bad. Most universities are bad in my opinion. Or more courses.
I would agree.
More online courses and much more options out there. And it's very impressive to see how these early times shaped the industry and portfolios and how people work today.
Do you think, because you said settle down, do you think the industry is settling down?
Like
stagnating? Or
I don't think so. I think COVID didn't do too much good, especially events stopping kind of made everything go a bit slower for a while. But I think now it's going very fast still. Because of what's happening in industry, it's a bit harder to see where the future is going to head.
Yeah.
But I'm very impressed to see how many people are online teaching. I mean, I think Artwod is also a great example of the industry not slowing down at all.
Yeah.
More and more people are getting interested into arts. So I don't think it's slowing down, but I think it's, as you said, tools are changing and the tools still impact the industry quite a lot. So it adapts to its time, let's say.
So I'm wondering, because we spoke about this, and I wish Daniel was here because he could probably explain it better. But we're talking about the level up, and I don't know if anyone who's listened to this was around when, there was concert.org, and then
if you are, you're an OG.
Yeah. You're probably working for quite a few years in concert now. But there was level up, and Darek Zabrowski, Wojtek, and Jonas. They started it, and it was almost like a concept art phenomenon, almost like everyone was following it. Mm-hmm. Everyone who was going to be the new artist was following it. Mm-hmm. Everyone was participating, like looking at their portfolios, and they were pushing it forward. It doesn't seem like there's something like existing like that, like so popular right now that just has that much traction. Like literally everyone knew it.
I have a hypothesis, as I say. It was also way less people, and only one route. And only one route to go. It was these guys or nothing. Like you do that or you don't do art. And I think now there's much more schools, there's much more different paths to take, and there's also, I bet, much more people, like insane amount of people. But now you have good routes to go, also probably bad routes to go, but people are just doing different stuff. And that's probably why we don't see as many Jama, Drabev type of tutorials going out and everyone doing the same thing. It's because there's more out there and there's more ways to, I want to specialize in 2D, so I'm going to follow this specific course which teaches me how to do 2D before. how to do 2D properly. Well, I want to do 3D, so I'm going to listen to this guy who's amazing at it. And this way, kind of almost delude people in many paths, almost like a tree. And before it was almost just one line,
Yep.
that people used to take.
It's like the FCD YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Everyone was on that channel. Everyone was
Totally.
waiting for the next episode.
Yeah.
And now that's not that anymore. I think it's not because, well, you have hype as well, but hype usually, like what Jules says, hype starts because there's a small community making a lot of noise, but then it sort of gets adapted by the masses a little bit, and then it like dilutes down, but that doesn't mean that it's stagnated. It's sort of like there's more available.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point, because it feels like, if you look at it from that point of view, it feels like, oh, there's no more like these rock star concept artists anymore that are pushing to
Well, still,
influence.
they are truly. I
Alright,
mean,
who do you name?
Onion, TCK, Noax, Pablo Dominguez.
Noax is insane artist, but he's only within hard surface community.
Yeah, but exactly.
That's like there's also no Hollywood superstars anymore. The reason for that is usually back in the day there were so many films, and there were so many guys doing those films, and now there's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's Amazon Prime, there's a million more actors, and so there's no superstar actor anymore. There's some that get pushed through popular IPs, which like Marvel or something, but it's mostly the superheroes that are the main stars. It's no longer the actor, and it's the same in our industry.
It's almost like much more categorized,
Yes.
Like you're the 2D guy, you're the hard surface guy, you're the movie guy. I don't know, and it's funny because most of the people I just said are actually each of them in a category. So maybe that's what happened, And so people just have their own community with their own big following.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's why you. But yeah, still, like, I mean, Jama is not.
Yeah, Jeremy is still.
He's not
quite-
that old, and he's massive.
But he has kind of stopped. His focus has been mostly on big, medium, small.
Yeah.
Feels like it when you look at the Star Station, less about the projects. And
Yeah, maybe that's what I meant by settling down. It's like all the big actors now have companies and are kind of getting more, let's say, organized with employees, with a proper structure, and it's less people winging it, But it doesn't mean that there's nothing new growing up. I think Concept 101 is it's a very, very young project, and we're still at the very beginning, I think, and you guys are much more established, but still you were telling me that there's so much room where you can go, and it's very and so it's probably will continue, I think, for forever, as soon as concept art is needed, which I truly think it will be, and then people will still wanting to learn art and express themselves and go forward. What would you see Artwod in the future? What would you like to see Artwod become?
Well, it's a very bold vision and it would almost sound cocky, but I have a vision for Artwod that is a little bit more global, where the sort of the methodology we're trying to do with Artwod shouldn't be like, hey, here's another online program. For me, it should be, when I'm not there anymore, that people learn the Artwod methodology.
Yeah.
Like there's the Loomis method or whatever. I want like the Artwod method to be there. And that's sort of like the program that I'm trying to build. Yeah. And it's going to take a lifetime probably. But I'm hoping that I can sort of leave that to the community.
Yeah.
I think that's that's the most, I don't know, noble thing you can do is like leave something to a community that is useful after you're gone, basically.
And you can also arguably, because like when you work in the movie industry or game industry, you're like, oh, I want to work on the big game that will stay for a long time, or I want to work for a movie that everyone will talk about it. True, but then you're just a piece of the clog of the machine, right? And I think arguably teaching will have a bigger impact on people, because yes, someone might watch a movie, but then maybe thousands of people might learn and really be impacted by, all the books you guys were mentioning before. Yeah. If you think about the amount of artists who followed those and learned from it, that's a huge impact on the community. Yeah. And it's
and what you guys do with the events, right? It's like, if people are inspired to come to an event like yours to learn from other artists, instead of wasting their life doing drugs somewhere, you know. Like if that inspires something, or like they follow the Artwod program instead of doing something unproductive, that you have much more impact on people than you can even imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't really feel that way for me that much, but
What do you mean? You don't feel like you?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I feel like I have that impact, like impact on the community.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Anything you organize for a community has impact.
Yeah.
You just don't realize how big it is yet.
Yeah.
And it always grows. And you should never underestimate that, especially if you do. Like, Concept 101 is free.
Yeah.
Then in and of itself is like a major impact for artists already. Because like there's no barrier.
It's of course it's like many people. It's not thanks to Concept 101, but it's thanks to everyone involved, thanks to everyone who's coming to the event, all the speakers, and or maybe it's like facilitating connections. Let's say like it's like you put everyone in a little box, you mix it together, and then something comes up at the end. That's what an event does. Same for maybe a school or courses, or like maybe I think your teaching has a big impact on people because they truly evolve and it's like a long-term thing. There's different ways, man. If I see how industry workshops were, because I was 15 and I went to industry workshops, and that was like a true mind-blowing experience to me.
Same for me.
I probably owe industry workshop my career. Of course, they didn't give me the career, but they gave me the spark, or like they allowed me every year to meet people and to also hear people telling me that's shit, or you need to learn this, or you need to go to this university, or you don't need to go to university. And it's just, again, allowing a platform for people to connect. I think it's, no matter at which scale you do, is great. And that's why also telling people to reach out to other people and connect with each other. That's how you really build something over the years. And hopefully at the same time get better at art.
Yeah. And what I said before, like not only the things you learn at an event, but just for me, industry workshop was that event. Tangibly seeing that it's possible is so powerful. It's like, wow, like these are real people.
Yeah.
Actually, they're talking to me. They're like, it's not, because online still has this effect. If you follow rockstar artists online, you will put them on a pedestal. And you're like, yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
When you meet them in real life and you just have banter with them and you're just like regular people and they give you positive feedback on everyone can do it, it's like that belief is so powerful.
Totally.
So I have a question off of that for you, Antonio. So how about struggles? Do you have like weekly struggles, monthly struggles that happen? How do you deal with it? How you learned to kind of overcome struggles of running companies, maybe still doing art on the side.
Yeah.
Like something that happens,
Enough fun struggles now.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to dive deep. I definitely have demons. I think we all do as artists. I think for me, it's sort of like dealing with struggles is the exact same as getting better at art. It's like a consistency thing.
Okay.
And there's things you can do in your daily life that just help with that. And I think for me, when I found CrossFit, I'm a big advocate for CrossFit. Not the fail videos you see online, but just the methodology of it, of like training your weaknesses, working on your fundamentals, being 1% better than yesterday. And I think that's sort of a mindset that I keep in the back of my mind. That's literally why the program is called Artwod. It's like WOD is from CrossFit. It's art workout of the day.
Oh,
that's the reason why I call it that. So the CrossFit methodology runs through my program, and that's why I keep that mindset and struggles, and how I try to overcome it. And yes, well, so because I have two companies and they're very much like a sedentary profession, sitting all day. You guys must know this as well. And so to get over that mental exhaustion, I still do CrossFit physical training just to balance out a little bit. And that also helps with your struggles, because the struggle usually is internal, right? It's a mindset thing. And if I do a workout and the only thing I can think about is not to die, is like very calming on the mind.
Yeah.
And so that's usually how I deal with these things. But I think I'm a little bit of an exception because I'm a workaholic and I'm a little bit OCD. I have no problem working 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, because I have this vision for what I want in life, and that's what motivates me. And it doesn't have to be on an entrepreneurial level. I've seen a lot of artists have that vision, and they strive to get it, and they get it. And that's usually, everyone has struggles, but if you have a goal, you can deal with the struggles. I think the goal is the important thing of dealing with struggles.
Having a reason.
Yes, having a reason to struggle.
Yeah, I know. Even if you hurt or if it feels annoying, then ask yourself why.
Yes.
And if it boils down to learning something new, then it's almost normal. Like you to learn something, you kind of have to fail at it first, or like you have to. Like no one knows how to draw a horse first try, right?
Yes.
You have to draw very bad rats for a week, and then it becomes a horse, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
But if you truly care about it, and if you truly want to become better, it almost has to be not to hurt in a physical way, but to be an annoying process or discomfort. It's not comfortable. But if you only stay comfortable, then you don't get anywhere new. You just stay at the same place.
And that segues into what Stefan was saying about the need for an art community. It's like struggle together instead of alone.
Yeah.
It like carry the load together, and like just the knowledge that other people are having the same struggles is really liberating.
Especially like talking about online, ArtStation is such a bad thing to look at. Like if you look at ArtStation every day and you don't have a in real life community, then you just see these masters and you just see these amazing paintings and you see that they have like 4,000 likes and you have like 2 likes.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does that translate to me becoming like them? And it seems impossible because it's just you looking at a screen and there's no exchange.
Yes.
Rather than if you have people, then you can exchange, you can understand, you can break it down and just get to the next level, let's say. One last questions. We're almost done. It might be an annoying question, I'm not sure. What question did you wish we asked you? Or what do you think we missed?
Oh, damn.
What do you want to talk about that you think we missed?
I think artists that influenced me would be is a fun question. I think I fell in love with old masters really quickly. So I think that permeates kind of in my work as well. But guys like J.C. Leyendecker, Norman Rockwell, Fetchin, the painters, Charles Dana Gibson when it came to inkers, like sort of art that really resonated with me. And then product designers like Scott Robertson, just like the fact that they could problem solve like that was for me super inspirational, and that sort of gave me the motivation to get to that level. Sort of like, if these guys could do it with oils, I should be able to do it with this fucking tablet. And that's kind of what made me understand that fundamentals are so important, because like if you look at J.C. Leyendecker, that's timeless art, right? And there's design in it. And that was so mind-blowing for me.
Especially the way he plays with shapes.
Yes.
It's very incredible.
Ridiculous. And then these days, Kim Young-gi was a massive influence for me. I think Kim Young-gi gave me a good insight into what it's like to have fun with your skills.
Yeah.
That's something I forgot a little bit over time. I acquired all these skills and I'm like, wow, I can do concept art. I'm paid to do this. I'm really good at it. Blah, blah, blah. But I forgot to have fun with it. And he sort of showed people like, you have these skills, have fun with them. And it usually leads to better art as well. Karl Kapinski, another one. Jesper Esching, one of my favorite illustrators. Evan Amundsen, love him. Claire Wendling. Those are like the people that really show how to have fun with your skills.
It's funny because they always all have the common of mastering the skills.
Yes.
And it's almost like the fact of them having so much fun with it or being so creative is because they don't have to think too much about how to do it. They just think about what they feel like doing and they just draw amazingly. And it's very inspiring.
I think it's always inspiring when you are, when you work really hard to kind of get better, and then, you see these people, and that happens to me as well. I see these people who are like incredibly good, but every time they draw, they're just super happy. Like, I'm fucking enjoying this. I'm doing this super cool project, and they tell you about it. They're really excited, and you can tell that just what they do is they find it really fun, and I find it quite inspiring as well.
Yeah.
Like, actually quite eye-opening. Like, I know a few people who kind of introduced this into my life, and I couldn't thank them enough too, because that essentially like what helped me to just be more of a happy person when I draw and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think are you still kind of looking at those artists right now, or are you also looking in some more up and coming artists for inspiration?
I'm terrible with names. I'm sure there are people I follow on Instagram that are up and coming that I love. For like, he's not up and coming. He's already established, but he's called Kyle, and then NGU is his last name. I don't know if you know, but he does a lot of Marvel or DC comic art, but it's also traditional. He inks it first.
Oh, shit,
it's so good. I'll show you later. So there's definitely a lot of people that inspire me, and I think the coolest thing to see is these up and coming artists that are influenced by the same masters or the same rock stars, and then they do their own thing with it. Is fantastic to see. That's something I love.
Dude, I remember when I was in when I learned about concept art, I think I was really inspired by like the typical Feng Zhu.
Yeah.
And I remember Darag as well, being quite an inspiration. But every time I went to an art museum, I couldn't believe that there were people who painted these paintings. Jacques-Louis David, I don't know. He painted these incredible Napoleon paintings. They are just insane in scale. Like, if you see the painting, it's just like humongous.
The scale of things.
And it's like humongous coronation scene. I'm like, dude, how did you? And like, it's so detailed. I can't wrap my head around like, how can someone paint?
And the material representation, like
insane,
metal and hair, and like, wow.
It's so impressive as well how they can keep such consistent materials, architecture, design, also like just the perspective, and also the anatomy. So good in such a good scale.
Yeah, and
like,
the composition.
Yeah, it's like so. Like, I was in Madrid last week. I went to the Prado, and there was all the Velázquez painting, and I was just, at the same time I was doing some painting on my iPad, and I was like, oh shit, I'm really bad. I look at these guys, and you're like, they just did a few paintings in their career because it took so long time. But no, they did like 200, 300, 400 paintings. And each of them is so good.
I think that does lead into the a quote I really like is slow is fast, fast is slow. Is something that kind of gets killed, a habit that gets killed when you do digital and not traditional, is when you slow down, you usually make a lot better and faster work than if you try to do very fast things and try to because you're not problem solving. You're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks instead of planning. And that's why these paintings usually, because they probably planned the shit out of that. Like doing, like when you saw Leyendecker stuff, it's like study, and then the final painting.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
they even have people posing for them for hours and hours or days, and it's like that's also why being open to references is so, like, some people are like referencing is cheating. No, that's how people do it. You have a reference. Yeah, it's important. But
I had 2 questions for you guys.
Yeah. One
is there anything surprising that you learned about the industry, or by now actually organizing an event that sort of you learned from the industry? Or
I think one thing is that you always look up to companies, you look up to artists, you look up to everyone. It's very easy to look up to people and think they're special, or like think they're higher, let's say. I think doing something ourselves from scratch and seeing how people portrays us, and some people think that Concept 101 is such a established thing, or like when they don't really know who we are, it's very funny to be within the companies or within talking with other companies or organizing things. It's just people.
Yes.
It's just people doing things together. Sometimes they know what they're doing, sometimes they don't know what they're doing. And it's amazing artists. Sometimes they know what they're doing. Sometimes also there's like more, like even big movies projects, sometimes it's more random. It's like at the end, it's just humans trying to make things make sense. And there's really no point to to look up too hard to someone. At the end, we're just all kind of equal, I think. And yeah, interacting with so many people from the industry, I think really makes me realize that, don't worry, just take your chance.
Yeah.
Try to talk with people, or just try to become more skilled. There's really the only thing really stopping you, I think, is your doubts.
Right.
And you can, with time and probably luck as well, but you can always try to do anything. Yeah.
I think one thing I've learned is that I didn't expect is, which makes me sad a little bit as well, but like that, to make something great, you need to find the right people, and the right projects are made by the people who can cover each other's weaknesses and help each other to be better. And with people who are responsible and are really, really responsible, and they will take on their responsibilities if they have to. And I think that's what I've learned, like working with Jules and Dan. Yeah. So I think it's funny because I didn't expect how difficult it will be to make something, but I also didn't expect how easy it will be when you have the right people.
Yeah.
How you can rely on the person next to you. And I know for the future that no matter what I do, I have a blueprint that I've seen of the right people and the right way to do things.
That's nice.
And I think it's not like for me and Dan and Jules, I think that's just incredible. It's not what we are creating. I think like no matter what we would do, if we did it together, we would do it very well. If we shot a movie, if we started our own other like company, I think we would find a way how to make it right. So I think that was the most interesting thing that I've learned.
Yeah, it always boils down to who you're collaborating to, and also why other people are so important. I'm sure the same with you with everything you've been doing professionally. Everything can break down so easily. Like it's so easy to fuck up. It's so easy to say, you know what, I'm done. But it's very hard to continue. It's very hard to. I mean, come on, it's not like the event is that hard. It takes a lot of time, but no matter what happens, it's good to just keep going. And
and it's like, to Stefan's point, that's what I want to stress, is like people associate me with Artwod because I'm the face of Artwod, but Artwod could only grow because of the team I have. For no other reasons. I couldn't have grown Artwod to this size alone. It's never possible. And that segues into the second question. If you had an unlimited budget, what would Concept 101 look like?
Wow, unlimited.
I'm pretty sure Jules will have an idea. I have an idea as well.
I think, again, we're 3 different people, so we have different ideas of what Concept 101 could be, and then we kind of chat and we agree on some things. I think I'd like to have more than one day, potentially, probably have. To me, it's very, very important that the event is centered towards the people attending it. So I'm very thankful companies are here. It's amazing. I'm very thankful the lecturers are also coming. It's amazing. But I want the day to be the best for the people attending. And if you have lots of people attending, then it beneficiates everyone else. Probably a few days long, amazing venue, loads of free stuff for everyone. Again, we're not doing this for money, so just have the most enjoyable day for people. Maybe free food, free drinks, free random gifts to give to people, and then probably try to. I don't know. I'm just thinking
challenges happen.
Yeah, challenges. We do every month stuff now. We do drink and draws. We do museum meetings. Maybe have more of those, but try and be even more generous. I don't know, because money, I guess, is only slowing us down towards what we can afford. Yeah. But then we can still do stuff, maybe lower budgets or free. That doesn't require us to book things. So just expand and see what people like, I guess.
So if we had unlimited budget, maybe it would be cool to have it around in Europe as well, or something like that. Not just in London. I would say there are already some other good conferences they're running. So, but it would be cool to kind of have us helping out either those conferences or set up our own. One thing that I don't know if it's necessarily related to the Console 101, and one thing that you said about when a company one thing I would want to do essentially, and I don't know how to do it, and I don't know if it's even if we could do it or if it's our project to do, is me, Daniel, Jules, and a bunch of our friends, we have a Discord group. It's a very, very good Discord group. It's full of professionals who are friends and like each other in a way, like we are all just friends. We hang out. We are the initial group that kind of met up before even the conference started. It was like 30 of us came to London to hang out. And this, to me, is the only way it can be is if it's like maybe 50 people. It has to be like a small community, right? And like if there was a way to solve, like you were saying, with the problem of almost helping people create smaller communities that can live beyond the event, and people have the same community what we have, but just other people having that, and then being to grow together. Because this happens with other Discord communities. They grow, they become really big. Yes, they have challenges and all this stuff happening, but eventually people stop caring, because they are not their friends. They stop investing time and effort. And I think if we could have our conference help, solve this problem of creating smaller Discord or other online communities where people would want to actively participate all the time and help each other grow, I think that would be something that, I don't know if it's a money problem, but it's just something
just pay people to become friends.
Yeah. You have unlimited budget.
Now talk to each other, please.
But as Jill said, make it as good as possible with free drinks, free everything.
Ferraris for everyone.
Yeah. For everyone, dude.
Nice.
You have the biggest speakers. Let's, Craig Mullins, Nathan Fawkes, Miche.
Yeah.
Who else are we thinking? James Gurney. Oh man.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Amazing.
Just fly them
speakers.
on private jets,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're gonna rent London, guys. Just renting the whole.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think we're getting close to the end.
Alright.
Just one last question for you. If anyone wants to sign up to Artwod or they want to learn more about what you guys are doing, what's the best way to do it?
Simply go to artwod.com, artwod.com, and you can sign up for free. So we have a freemium where you can just test the program, see what it is. You can have access to all the courses and see how we structure the thing. You can get into our Discord and talk with everyone. And then you can see if you want to become a member or not. That's up to you. We leave that up to you. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great to hear. So that'll be the end of today's episode. I really hope you guys liked it. Please feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We do podcast every 2 weeks, so please come back. We'll be very sad otherwise.
Yeah.
Thanks again very much to Antonio for this
you.
participation.
Thank you.
And for once again supporting Concept 101. Be free for all of you guys. So bye-bye. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
See you.